The PFF marketing team is so good at generating interactions, which is the entire name of the game, really. Now, a lot of times it's by tweeting out, let's just be honest, some BS, right? But sometimes they post one of these, and I actually like these quite a lot. Build the perfect receiving core. You have $10, and they have 4 different categories, 3 sets of receivers and a tight end. And with the money on the top here, you pick your team. Now, stay tuned, because after we do this, and we'll talk about this, start a healthy dialogue in the comment section. I'm sure we're all going to agree on just one here. We're going to do one with defensive backs as well. So that should be pretty fun. So you get a little 2-for-1 in this video. And there are a number of different ways you can go about this. And I think the way I first decided to go after it, and if you saw it on Twitter, you follow me on Twitter, at Bengal YouTube, you already know what I chose. Tyreek Hill for $4, DK Metcalf for $2, AJ Brown for $2, and then I just took Kyle Pitts for $1. Because, I mean, depending on the offense you want to run, Mark Andrews is a completely reasonable pickup. But Kyle Pitts is just so much of a versatile weapon. Just a real mismatch that if I'm going to go like air raid and just completely put together an uncoverable set of receivers, Kyle Pitts better fits that than Mark Andrews. The most complete tight end of this bunch is George Kittle, but I'm not going to spend $4 on a tight end. So anyway, I took Tyreek Hill, DK, AJ Brown, and Kyle Pitts. And the way I think this is supposed to be done is you pick a receiver from the top row, receiver from the second row, receiver from the third row, and then your tight end, not just mixing around and taking whoever you want. And somebody had commented that earlier, and in that case, maybe I would go Tyreek Hill for $4, Jamar Chase makes $7, Scary Terry is a steal at $2 to make $9, and then you can still go with Kyle Pitts. That's a really good way to go about it, but again, I don't really think that's how it's intended. But I said the offense is built around speed and run after catch, with Michael Thomas being the outlier. And someone said, well, why not just take Deebo Samuel then instead of A.J. Brown? And that's something you could do, but if we're going a little bit outside the box, I decided to go back and grab Michael Thomas, which for $1 is a steal. Like CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, those are good receivers. Michael Thomas, albeit with some injury concerns, we haven't really seen him play in a while. Last time he was on the field, he was awesome. Yes, there are the whole slant boy, whatever, jokes. But that's more on Drew Brees than it was on Michael Thomas. Drew Brees just didn't have the arm strength at that point in his career to really do anything more with Michael Thomas and just get rid of the ball quickly. And Thomas was so good that you know what's coming and you still can't stop it. He's a really, really, really good receiver. And I think underrated in the same way that a guy like Lamar Jackson's over or underrated, because I feel like we just kind of are too caught up in the memes and the jokes and perception, just like with Jamal Adams at safety. The jokes have taken over that you're not even really sure how good the player is anymore, but they're so overhated that they're way better than a lot of people think they are. But let's think of some other ways to go about this, because you could take Devontae Adams for $5. That's a great use of funds. Can't take Stephon Diggs because you'd be at $9, wouldn't be able to afford any other guys. But if you took Devontae Adams for $5, and then Mike Evans for $3, DK Metcalf for $2. DK, I think, is really good value at $2 here. He's a stud. He really is. Now, the thing about DK is he's not this shifty, quick route runner like a Stephon Diggs is, right? Or even a Justin Jefferson. That's not his game. He's got one big trump card, and it's I'm bigger, faster, and stronger than you, and I can beat you over the top, or the threat of beating you over the top is so big that I can win underneath. And DK is awesome. Really, really good receiver. He's a steal at $2. So you can go Devontae Adams for $5, DK for $2 makes $7, and then you have $3 left over, and the value of Kyle Pitts at $1 is just so insane. If you had a receiving trio of Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Michael Thomas, and then have your choice of any tight end there, because that's what, 5, 6, 7, 8, Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts. That's a pretty good way to do it. That would be an incredible group. But We could also go down here. Like Jamar Chase for $3 is also feeling like a steal nowadays. You could go Chase for 3, Diggs for 4 makes 7, and then you still have $3. It's tough not to go with Michael Thomas, Kyle Pitts, or A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts. I like Mark Andrews. I think he's a better overall player than Kyle Pitts right now. Who is more dynamic for an offense? It's very easily Kyle Pitts. It kind of depends what you want your offense to look like. What you could do, let's say we're the Patriots, we like to run 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. You could get Kyle Pitts, and then Mark Andrews, and Pitts could be like the Gronk role, right? Where that's, you can play in line, but also you're someone that can line up out wide or in the slot. Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews for $2, or $3 combined. That's interesting. And then you have $7 to pick a receiving core. And if you went with Chase for 3 is 6. And then Metcalf makes 8. And then you could go A.J. Brown. That's a really, really good way to do it. Scary Terry for 2 is a complete steal. You can go with all the 2s, to be honest, from the same draft class, right? Scary Terry, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown. Are they all same draft class? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. And that's 2, 4, 6. And then you could take George Kittle. Oh, that's a really, really good way to do things as well. I feel like with some of these, there's really no wrong answer. Because, there's just so much talent here. And a lot of these guys are just good because of situation. Like, they would all be good pretty much anywhere. So Scary Terry for 2, Stephon Diggs for 4 makes 6. And then again, it's tough to really take any of these $5 options down here. I love Justin Jefferson. I love DeAndre Hopkins. Stephon Diggs is great too. But I think with Devontae Adams being, in my opinion, the best receiver in the league, and then Tyreek Hill being arguably the toughest offensive player to cover in the whole league, like, Tyreek Hill is almost a must pick for me at $4 just because of every different way he impacts an offense. It isn't just as a receiver down the field, so great after the catch, so great underneath, but it's also the threat. The threat of Tyreek Hill opens up so much of the offense that if I take a run after catch guy like A.J. Brown or Deebo Samuel, we could just run off Tyreek Hill on half of our plays and then just dump the ball down to A.J. Brown or Deebo Samuel and just let them run. And you can kind of do a similar thing with DK Metcalf. If you had Tyreek, DK, and one of these guys, the kind of way I set it up in my first tweet, it's like that's really, really tough to beat. And then you have the size and speed mismatch of Kyle Pitts. You really can't get Tyreek Hill and DK, 2 huge speed deep threats, and Hill is especially great underneath as well. Plus a big run after catch guy and Kyle Pitts, who's 6'5", runs a 4.4, and it plays that fast and is so great in jump ball situations. What defense is the defense going to call? Because if you come out with a multiple defensive back set, or like nickel or something, more than just the base package of 2 corners, 2 safeties, come out in nickel or dime, well, yeah, you're going to have the speed to match up, maybe more so, even though nobody can cover Tyreek Hill, but you're not going to have the size to match up with Kyle Pitts. And how many linebackers are fast enough to cover Kyle Pitts? Very few. How many defensive backs are big enough to cover Kyle Pitts? Very few, and that's the biggest problem with defending him. It's nearly impossible. So there's so many great ways to set this up. I really can't take Travis Kelce in any one of these situations. He's fantastic, but it just isn't worth the $5 in my opinion when you have all of these great tight ends underneath. And there are just so many great options. I'd like to get a way to fit Justin Jefferson in. $5 for him, 2 for Terry is 7. And then I got to go DK and Pitts. It's kind of the way you have to do it. These receivers on top are just all so good. They're all receiver ones. It's the thing with all of these guys, except for the odd man out, which is like CeeDee Lamb right now and T. Higgins. And that's kind of it. It's really only CD and T. Higgins are not like your prototypical receiver ones right now. But they both could evolve into that. It's very tough, but That's the way I would do it. Let me know what you would do down in the comments, and let's move over to DBs. So this is an interesting group. So here's the thing. I think this is done fairly well. Jalen Ramsey's a $5 option. Here we have $12. That's interesting. Still 4 different categories to choose from. Still the 1 to 5 scale, but now we have $2 extra. Why would that be? This is another really tough thing, because who do I really think my best options are? It depends. Now, I wouldn't really want like 2 strong safeties. You got to have somebody that can cover over the top. The fact that Jesse Bates is not on this list, by the way, is bizarre to me. Really, really strange. But there are a number of different ways you could do this. Marshawn Lattimore for $3 and AJ Terrell for $3. Absolute steals. But at the same time, Jalen Ramsey's the best corner in the league. Jair Alexander to me is like, if Jalen Ramsey's 1A, Jair's like 1B or maybe 2. And I think part of that's just because he's a guy that's dealt with some injury lately. So it's tempting to just go 5-5 and then scroll down. But the thing is, Budda Baker is not really the guy that's going to play over the top for me. It'd be Marcus Williams. And then Jamal Adams for $1 is a steal. Jamal Adams is so overhated. He is so good. But he's not the cover over the top guy. He is a strong safety. So we have to understand the difference between the different roles. And there's so much variation between what a safety is asked to do. A guy like Justin Simmons or Marcus Williams is going to have a completely different role than a Budda Baker, who's basically like a slot corner at times, or Jamal Adams, who's like a hybrid linebacker at times. He's a box player when he's at his best. Tyrann Mathieu for $3 also feels incredible. You could just go like Lattimore for $3, Terrell for $3 to make $6, Mathieu for $3 to make $9, have $3 left over to take either Marcus Williams, Kevin Byard, or Budda Baker, and have a tremendous secondary. I think I have to go Jalen Ramsey with 5 here. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because he is the most versatile of any corner here, period. Jalen Ramsey is your prototypical, like, do everything defensive back, not even just a corner. He can play nickel. He's the star of the secondary. So for $5, I can get a guy that can run with any receiver in the game, that can play in the nickel, that can play on the boundary. For $5, Jalen Ramsey is my pick. So you have $7 left to work with. And for $3, I'm going to have to take AJ Terrell. I'd love to have Jair, but I think Terrell's the best value there. So we're up to $8. What do I want to do next? Marcus Williams for 2 is really sticking out to me because he's, one of the best true free safeties up here. Justin Simmons for 5 is just not feasible, obviously, because we're at $8 already. And I hate to say this, no disrespect to the safeties, but a top corner is way more valuable than a top safety. They just are. You got to have good safeties at the back end, for sure. But corners are so much more valuable. So I think we go Ramsey, Terrell. That's 8. I'm going to go Marcus Williams to play free safety, I think. The other best option to me is Antoine Winfield Jr. for $2. Because those are really free safeties. Tyrann Mathieu's so good, though. And I think I would go... So that's 8, 9, 10. I'd love Tyrann Mathieu, but we'd be $1 short. And Budda Baker's not a free safety. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, could do it. He has done it. But I think I would go Jamal Adams. And I think I'd be stoked with that, actually. Ramsey for 5. Terrell's 8, 9, 10, 11. $1 left over. Give me Budda Baker as my slot corner, and I'll be thrilled. I think that's the way I would do it. I think that's a really good way to do it as well. And yeah, it's like, oh, you're not supposed to have $1 left over, or you can't just go back and pick from any of the categories. But Marlon Humphrey for $1, by the way, is also pretty good value. But yeah, I think I would do it. You could do it Ramsey, Terrell, Williams, Adams, right? Or you could do Lattimore, Alexander. Same cost, and then you could also do Williams, Adams, or you could flip it and do Winfield, Baker, which would be really nice, or Matthew Baker, right? Yeah, we could do that as well. That's a good way to do it. What's the cheapest way to build the best group? Trey White for $2 is also awesome. Terrell's got to be in there after last year. Maybe I would do maybe Trey White for 2, Terrell makes 5, and then Derwin James for 5 makes 10, and then Marcus Williams for 2. That's another really good way to do it. Derwin James is also awesome. If there was a way, can we get Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James? Like, not really. Like, we could, obviously. Like, mathematically, it works out. You just go Ramsey for 5, James for 5, makes 10, and then Diggs Baker. But I don't love that. It'd be a good secondary, don't get me wrong. But you'd have the lockdown CB, and then you'd have the ball hawk in Diggs here. And he's good at what he does. It's just, here's the thing, is he's not going to be your lockdown corner. And I would prefer for my corners, like, you got to be able to take away the football. That's important. You got to have ball skills. But at the same time, I would prefer that my corners just don't allow anyone to get open at an elite rate rather than allow guys to get open and win down the field versus force a turnover, every so often. Maybe it's once every other game. Maybe if it's slightly more than that. What is it? He would have been like 1.2 times per game on average, something like that. Like, there's a value to it. I just don't know exactly how to quantify it. I think a really good way to do it, if we want to get the versatility of the safeties, go Lattimore for 3, Terrell for 3 makes 6, James for 5 makes 11, and then take Budda Baker. That's a good way to do it too. I think my actual, final way to do it is the one we talked about already, which is Jalen Ramsey for 5, AJ Terrell for making 8, and then Williams, and then Adams. He's just so good. Very disrespected. I'd love to get Tyrann Mathieu in there, but at this point, I just don't trust him over the top the way I trust Marcus Williams. But yeah, I don't really think there's a wrong answer with a lot of these. I know this top comment over here says, Ramsey, Jair, Baker, and Adams. Anything else is wrong. Lol. 500 likes. Yeah, we're going to have two guys that really are not going to be great playing over the top as our safeties playing over the top. We're going to have 2 box safeties. The deep middle will be patrolled by the referee, and hopefully they don't beat us over the top. You got to have a guy that can cover deep. So anything else is wrong. It's great to just pick talent. You got to have an understanding of the role that these guys are going to play before you bring those guys in. So, yeah, give me an extra $1. I'll take Budda Baker as my slot corner, and then Ramsey, Terrell, Adams, Williams. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Let me know how you guys would do it down in the comments section below. Again, I think it's really tough to pick wrong as long as with the DBs, you're figuring out their role. Because guys that can play over the top, it's like Marcus Williams, Kevin Byard, Justin Simmons. Derwin James can do it. Antoine Winfield Jr., Micah Hyde. Baker's really not that guy. Adams isn't that guy. Amos, I think, could, but that's not really his best role. And then Tyrann Mathieu, I think, could, but a little bit past his prime. But you can't just take Budda Baker and say, go play free safety. I don't think you're going to have tremendous success the way you would with somebody like Marcus Williams. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.